Hello everyone, what is up? It is me, Ewan from WhatCulture Gaming, joined today by Jedi Knight, he's not a master yet, Ben-Roy Turner, to talk to you today about Star Wars Squadrons. We've both been playing it over the weekend. And we have thoughts. Personally, I'm a huge, everyone who's familiar with the channel at this point should know that I'm a massive Star Wars fan, as is Ben-Roy. And I particularly love Starfighter stories. So like Starfighters, I love the old Rogue Squadron novels. And I've been reading a bunch of the Alphabet Squadron books. I mean, there's only 2, so I guess it can't really be a bunch, but I've read most of them now. And so I was really excited for Squadrons. And it doesn't disappoint. It's only £30, I believe. It's not exactly, it's not a full AAA release, but it is what it lacks in size. It more than makes up for in terms of quality and impact. I really enjoyed Star Wars Squadrons, Ben-Roy. I thought the story was a little bit it was just there, it doesn't really do much for me in that sense, but in terms of actually getting an authentic, immersive Star Wars Starfighter experience, I'm willing to say this is the best one they've ever done.
It's very much there, and I think we have to look to Battlefront 2 as these stories are good. I think I enjoyed the Battlefront 2 campaign more than this, but I think this is more like all of these video game stories are gonna just kind of be there for the most part, as you've said. I think I'm thinking back to stuff like I played the Squadron games back in the day, Rogue Squadron games, but I was also a Starfighter fan and then a Jedi Starfighter fan, and I really enjoyed those games as well, and how they would interweave them into sort of the films. It probably is the best story they've done. It's very weird because I will say naughty video game people for putting Leia in the trailers a lot, and then putting Vader in the trailers a lot, and Rey Sloane in the trailers, for them obviously to pop up for 10 seconds sort of thing in this game. I feel like they should have lent more on what they had, but for the most part it was kind of it almost felt too long in my aspects. I feel like there were 1 or 2 missions in the middle that could have just not been there. What about you?
Yeah, it was weird for me. When the game ended, I was surprised that it ended on that note, because without getting into spoilers or anything, I had the last Imperial mission and I was like, wait, what? Yeah. And then I had the last New Republic mission and I was like, wait, that what? And then it was just kind of there. I mean, I think all the characters are interesting enough. They have some interesting backstories, but they are just all caricatures. They all fulfill a certain part in the actual the traditional kind of World War II fighter pilot type story, where you'd have the veteran, the ace, the rookie, the and all that kind of thing. So it wasn't exactly it's a weird one for me, because looking at it, it is just a series of glorified tutorials strung together to create some sort of narrative. And I have, my sympathies with EA Motive in that sense, because you look at the way that the Star Wars canon is so densely packed in terms of that post-Return of the Jedi setting now. Obviously you have the Aftermath novels, you have the Alphabet Squadron books, have all the comics as well, and it's all a very, it's a very dense time period to actually kind of operate in. That being said, it is for what it is. It is more Star Wars, and I'll never say no to more Star Wars, and I did enjoy it in that sense. And I guess, let's not mince words here either. The main appeal of this game is the multiplayer, and that's where I've been having most of my fun now. I've only just unlocked the Fleet Battles mode, which again is something that's really cool, but I just love the way all the starfighters handle in this game. And I have full sympathies with Erica Quell from Alphabet Squadron, who defects from, she's the central protagonist of those novels. She defects from the Empire to join the New Republic, and she hates the way the X-Wings handle, because they're so big and cumbersome and big and bulky, and I much prefer the TIE fighters. So that's kind of reconciling my own personal allegiances with the fact that the Empire's ships, even though they're cheaper and don't have any shields, they are faster and cooler to fly.
Not having any shields is one of my biggest gripes, especially in the campaign. I know let's stay loyal to what the ships are and stuff in the sort of canon, but playing levels where you don't have shields or you don't have the option to self-repair and you've got to rely on the hold in triangle prompt turned into a do some of the objective and then run away and sort of hide behind a rock for 5 minutes until you sort of get your health back, or if there's a Star Destroyer or another cruiser near you, sort of fly up into that and get health. But I found towards the end, I wouldn't call it difficult, more I'm just getting shot from behind or shot from other turrets, and you're kind of it felt like Star Wars Lone Wolf rather than a Squadron for me, because your AI don't seem to, they do some work, but they don't seem to do much. Like, you're like the bomber, you're also killing starships, and you're also escorting Jim Bob over there, sort of thing. So you're doing so much at once, and I feel like you're so spread thin. And when you're a bomber, I don't think you're fully, especially on the Empire side, that when you don't have any shields at all, you're not really like sort of ready for sort of like doing all that. Like, I much prefer playing the New Republic ships, like the X-Wings, the Y-Wings, kind of my favorite ship for some reason. I just like that. I think the TIE Interceptor would be if I had shields, but I just, for some reason, I just liked being able to sort of like defend myself a bit more. I don't know about you, but some of the, like, I did a bit of customization throughout the game, but when I tried using ion blasters once, I never went back afterwards because I didn't feel like they did enough damage for me. Like, sure, they zap the shield straight away, but I feel like if you're going to do that in a game like this, you need something or someone there or the computer there to like finish the job off afterwards, rather than you then having to sort of struggle to do that sort of follow up through. And there was always sort of like a lack of, like, either you did the AI wasn't just doing it for me, or I wish I had another human there. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think, you know, the campaign, we mentioned then that it is kind of basically like an over-glorified tutorial in a great many ways. And one of the things that is, I guess, disappointing is the fact that even though it's I guess they're stuck in between a rock and a hard place, in the sense that it is, you know, it's the appetizer for the main entree of the actual multiplayer. And it does a great job of, you know, familiarizing you with the power systems and the handling of each class and starfighter, but equally it doesn't really prepare you that well to really nail down the team-based tactics that you have to really implement in the multiplayer. So you'll have cases, like you said just then, where you'll kind of be on your own, and then the way you coordinate your squad is essentially just double tapping X to then press triangle so that they try and get the guy who's on your back. It's not exactly the most you know, in-depth kind of system that they have at play there, but again, you know, I can let that slide, because as long as you have competent friends to play with on the multiplayer side of things, it is enjoyable, and it is cross-play as well. I kind of just forgot completely about that when the game came out, but it's interesting to see all that going on. I had someone offering me death sticks in the lobby that I was in last night, which is very funny. But that's one thing I kind of want to talk about as well. You know, the customization you mentioned there is really, it's nice. I think it's nice what it is. You have lots of different references to all sorts of classic Star Wars Squadrons. In particular, Saw Gerrera's Cavern Angels is a really nice design you can get for the X-Wing there. And they have all sorts of different stuff as well, from references to like Star Wars Rebels and all that kind of thing. But the main thing that really gets me about Squadrons, and why I really, really am enjoying it, is the depth that's there in terms of the combat. And, you know, the class-based approach really does pay off. I know a lot of people are kind of reluctant to choose the support ships and the bombers to a certain degree, but once you get like a fully coordinated squadron down, it is insanely good to play. And when you feel as though you've mastered basically juggling your power systems around everywhere, at first it can be really discombobulated and really disorienting, and you're just like mashing buttons, being like, power to shields, blasters, thrusters, what's going on? But by the time you actually really get to nail it down, and you're performing drifts like you're the space version of Dominic Toretto or something, it gets so good. I've had so many cool interactions in this game in like the weekend that I've been playing it, and I'm very much looking forward to spending more time in fleet battles, because I've only played a couple of games of that. It was mainly dogfights that I played, so but I definitely pleasantly surprised by how deep that goes, even if maybe I'm kind of less keen to try out some of the support ships. I will say that the point on the ion lasers that you mentioned there, Ben-Roy, there is a type of torpedo you can get, which is an ion torpedo, which is much more effective in terms of you'll disable the enemy shields with the torpedo, and then you can just let loose your lasers. It basically gives you, I feel as though that gives you a safety net in the terms of you're not just blasting them with like paper bullets and you actually have a different thing. But then again, you know, I was playing the other day and I got absolutely wasted by a TIE striker that was using the ion bolts, and their enemy, the team, were working very well together. So they had like an interceptor flying with the striker, which would then come in and get you after you'd been immobilized. So that's the thing that really gets me about this, is how good the team play is and how depth the flying feels. It's definitely the coolest thing about this game for me.
It's certainly more, it leans more to the multiplayer. Like coming out of the story, finishing that last night, I was sour on it, then I jumped into multiplayer, did a couple of dogfights, and then was brought way back up from like leaving this like I don't want to touch this again to maybe I actually want to play I want to jump into sort of the dogfight and stuff and play a bit more of that, because I think that's where the main focus of this game was, and that's where all the mechanics and everything else makes sense to me. But I love the fact that you've heard in films and everything for years for anything like we've got to transfer power to the shields, we've got to transfer power to the weapons, and you actually do it in this and it actually makes a difference, and it actually just feels good to do that. And like that's probably a lot of the reason why it's locked into the cabin. Like you can like switch everything around. I think about keeping your shield powered up, then flying down and boosting down to somewhere, and then switching to your lasers, battering them away, and then switching back to shields and just getting away, sort of like dipping in and out and sort of doing all this as you're, rather than just flying around shooting, and rather than the game turning into what a lot of them tend to is like two people going in a circle trying to get each other for about 20 minutes. There's all this sort of thing that plays into it, and that really like helps get so deep. And like I just wish that that I didn't I wish that I maybe played more dogfighting of this game than I did of the story, if that makes sense, sort of thing.
Yeah, I totally get you. And I think, the other thing I mentioned there is that even though like the power system itself is really in-depth, the actual way that all the ships handle, I'm so impressed by, because they all have their own kind of weight and drag and heft, and it doesn't feel, it is a science fiction game at the end of the day, it is a Star Wars game, but it felt less arcadey to me and more like I was playing a Star Wars flight sim in a way, because you have to really think 12 steps ahead of how you're going to align. When you're thrusting into an area, you basically got to like slow down, but not too much, otherwise you'll make yourself too easy to target. You got to think about how much energy you've got in your thrusters and where that's going to align your crosshairs before you then blast someone. And again, I'm just really blown away by the depth in this game, and I think it is another hit for EA Star Wars. We just had Fallen Order last year, we've had Squadrons this year. I think Fallen Order 2 is pretty much confirmed at this point. So I feel as though it's another promising sign. My only disappointment here is that even though I do think that this is great value for money and you do get a lot of kind of bang for your buck, I am kind of a little bit upset that this is it. This is like there is a size that it is enough to keep me entertained, and you will get lots out of playing with friends and going deep into customizing each respective starfighter if you're keen to trial with them. It does feel as though there's a bit of wasted potential there, in the sense that there isn't going to be any DLC or post-launch content at all.
It just feels like a one and done, bam, let's get out the door, because there are some other machines on the way and we want to focus into the future of that. But yeah, it's weird because I couldn't see this getting like a Battlefront 2 sort of like where that felt like it was supported forever, but at the same time, I do drive you, like it does feel like a more of a space sim in fact, and like you're not just zipping around like moving really perfectly. You've got to actually play at the speed and know how you're going to approach into a situation. And for me, one other thing, like I would have trouble seeing things sometimes as well. Like I almost at one point I was like I wanted a zoom button. Like I kept thinking about Jedi Starfighter, you could zoom in and look at things, but then I kept thinking, but this isn't the game that they have made. I kept going between like I want this sort of like arcadey feel, but then I don't, because I'm actually really enjoy playing with the systems and tweaking the little dials just to keep myself sort of alive a little bit longer, so I can get sort of like the regeneration sort of thing. But all in all, I think you come here for the story, you check that out, but you stay for the multiplayer, and I think this is going to be a nice little multiplayer offering that's going to keep people going until whatever we get next from EA, because as fun as the Starfighter stuff is in Battlefront 2, jumping in now I feel like it can be either supremely overwhelming, or sometimes the servers are a bit jittery and you literally you move sort of like you're trying to start up the ship sort of thing. So yeah, it's a solid middle of the sort of pack game for me, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, totally. I'm really enjoying it, but I want to know what you all think of Star Wars Squadrons down in the comments below. Did you pick it up? Did you pick it up over the weekend, or will you be picking it up in the weeks to come. It is a really enjoyable game. I really liked it. Please let us know what you think of it down in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and head back on over to whatculture.com/gaming for more news, lists, and articles all about Star Wars Squadrons. Not every day, but there will be some coming this week. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at EwanRuinsThings, and you will follow Ben-Roy Turner on Twitter at...
You want to buy some death sticks? No, at Ben-Roy Turner.
You want to go home and rethink your life? Bye!
I haven't left home in hundreds of days.